And I remember one of my friends, I'm not gonna say your name, but one of my friends was really like, you know what? Being in this class is like being in an abusive relationship where your man tells you that he treats you the way he treats you because he loves you. And I said, shoo. Hi everyone, this is Rufaro and welcome to She Money Hacks. So I hope you're all doing well and staying safe in these times. Please also go ahead, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like at the end of the video if you've enjoyed this video. So in today's video I will be going over studying finance, so I'll be going in depth. So I did a video on why I chose finance, and you guys let me know, some of the comment section, some of you just private message me that you would like to actually know what it was like to know, actually studying finance, not just why I did it, but what the process was like. And I was like, cool. So I mean to do it by year, so I'd go year 1, 2, 3 until year 4 when your girl graduated and got up on the come up. Okay, so basically year 1 I was a freshman, and that's when I declared my major. So actually when I enrolled into university, because I honestly didn't really know, like, okay, I'm lying. I knew I wanted to study something in business, and I knew I wanted to study finance, but then I wasn't sure, was it finance, economics, or I wasn't quite sure yet. So when I was doing the application with my dad, I said, let's just put business management. I think that's what I put. So I just put that to be enrolled because I wasn't too sure. And then I was able to switch officially to do finance and declare that as my major. But this didn't really affect me because in the first 2 years, honestly, well, first year and a half, you are doing just basic subjects that everyone actually has to do. So you're taking subjects such as calculus or pre-calculus. You're taking English. Everyone has to take, there's English 1, English 2. You have to take your literatures. I took African American literature, your histories, you take psychology, sociology. I had to take music. I took a music class, guys. Never in my life would I think I would have taken a music class like in university, because 1, I cannot sing to save my life. 2, I barely remember names of a lot of artists, even though I like music. But it was an interesting experience. So in the first year, not really having a major declared doesn't really affect you, didn't really affect me. So I took those subjects. Honestly, I didn't really see why I needed to take them at first. Like when I took sociology, that was actually the first class I took on American soil, and I just thought that was so cool, just the accents and everything, and how everyone spoke, interacted. Like, I just thought it was a vibe. Like, I was like, this is uni, this university. I just thought it was cool. But what I did learn from taking those classes before actually diving into my business classes and my finance classes was I learned so much basically about the American culture, about the African American culture. I learned so much about American history, which was so important for me to understand. I learned so much about just society in my sociology, psychology classes, to learn how people think, why people do the things they do. Which is something you need to understand if you're going to be in business. So now I look back, I'm grateful. So that was my first year of the classes I took. And then actually the only business class I took in my freshman year, which is my first year, was Intro to Business. But this class, I didn't find it too challenging because when I was back in Zimbabwe, I had taken business studies at O level and at A level. Well, no, at O level. At IGCSE level, and for a year after that, yeah. Then in my second year, when I was now a sophomore, I was also doing, subjects that were not really related to my major, but I then had an option to actually, enter the College of Business and become a resident in the College of Business, which I thought was so cool, And so I did take classes such as, I took my first accounting class that year. It was an introduction, I think it was accounting 101, I think. I don't quite remember. So I took accounting class, I took a management class, and I think a marketing class. Yeah. But this is a funny story. In one of my accounting classes, I remember so my school was in Louisiana, which is the South. And you guys know in America there's so many different accents. Actually, in the world, we have so many different accents, regardless of which country you're in. Someone from the north part, south, east, west, or someone who's just from a different dialect, tribe, or whatever has a different accent. And so, mind you, I just thought American accents were really different. And then in the South, that's a whole different accent as well. And one of my professors was really from the South. She had a really deep accent, which is really beautiful. But my ears were trying to adjust at first. And like the first few days, I would be writing things, but I was writing the wrong things because I was hearing the wrong things. I was hearing something else. And I'd be like, wow, this accounting has these terms that, okay, has its own language, okay. Until like when I was now reading the book, which is why it's so important. Buy a book, buy a textbook, okay? Don't just rely on what the professor's saying, because also the professor's not going to go in depth all the time. So which is why when I was now reading in the textbook and looking at the notes I wrote in class, I was like, oh, this is what it is. Okay, this is what it is. Like, this is actually the word. So yeah. So I took the accounting classes, which the intro classes were not too bad. I hadn't taken accounting before, so I thought that was really interesting. We did stuff as like, you know, the basically like balancing stuff. So you have your credits, your debits, that basic thing, and learning about your financial statements and all that stuff. My third year, which is my junior year, that's when I now had only business classes, and I'd set it up that way because I wanted it to be like that. And another thing as well is you have an advisor to help you with your classes, and this is really important because to make sure you graduate on time, you need to be talking to your advisors, because there's some classes you can't take unless you take another class. So you don't want to then take 5 classes and then miss the class that's only offered a certain semester. Then you could graduate late because you can't now take this class because you didn't take the class before. So that's something that's really important to do with your advisor as well, that I was doing. So was starting to get more involved in organizations. I started in my sophomore year, but junior year, that's when I got more deep into organizations on campus, such as NABA, National Association of Black Accountants. I was in the finance club as well. I think we also set up an Enactors club on campus. But in my business classes in my junior year, that's when I took my first finance classes. Actually, I think you take your investments class, you take your risk management. I took my insurance classes. And in the insurance classes, there were a few. There was property, there was there were a bunch of insurance classes I took. I also took international finance. I also took did I take corporate finance? There's also management as well. So I took a bunch of those. Then I also took my business analytics class. I took econ classes. So yeah, those were some of the classes I took in those junior and senior years. So, but actually, I remember, I don't know if I should say this, but in one of these classes, I'm not going to say which one, especially when you get to your junior and senior years, these classes get harder and harder. And depending on how big your school is, I went to a smaller school, and so you start to see the classes get smaller and smaller. Also because people start really, as I said, you declare your major maybe later on, and people start saying, maybe I didn't want to do finance, I wanted to do maybe accounting. I didn't want to do accounting, I want to do business management. So it's something like that can happen. Hence your classes can get smaller. And so in one of my classes, like, let me tell you, us and the professor, we just were not gelling, not vibing. The way he was teaching, I didn't think it was for me, it was for us. It was like water and oil. And I remember one of my friends, I'm not going to say your name, but one of my friends was really like, you know what? Being in this class is like being in an abusive relationship where your man tells you that he treats you the way he treats you because he loves you. And I said, shoo. I was like, this got really, really, really personal. She was like, your man will do this to you because he says he loves you. Because this class was really hard, and I honestly, the professor was, I guess, doing this out of love and really wanted us to be great, to succeed. Yes, I managed to pass that class. A lot of us ended up passing that class, but there were a lot of tears shed, a lot of hours spent. We really got close in that class. Like, when I tell you, doing so much stuff, GroupMe, helped a lot, saying, hey, have you done this homework? Let's study this, let's do this, because yeah, those are some of my hardest classes. Yeah, but basically that's my breakdown of studying finance, the classes I had to take, and the order that I had to take them in. Again, I will stress, for me it was so important to have an advisor to go over the classes I need to take. I always had a copy of the classes that I was taking, the classes that I'd taken. So having a copy of your, what's it called? I think it's your course timetable or something like that, to really show like, oh, okay, you've taken these classes, you're on track. You've taken these classes, you're on track. Because the last thing you want to do is to not graduate on time because you didn't plan. To not graduate on time because the course you want to take is not being offered this semester. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and